isn't having anything to do with the episode at all. Maybe it's a terrible place to start. I'm just curious because you mentioned that you're still playing the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth game. How far are you now?
Hell yeah. I'm like 35 hours in, but because I insist on doing every single mini game,
of course,
including like the crazy pirate shooter one that I really had to lock in for a minute to get that high score, to get that Abyssal Bangle, which is sounds like a Beatles song now that I think about it. Abyssal Bangle.
I mean, maybe it is.
Under the sea.
Or maybe that's what it plays as you wear it.
But anyway, so I am through the resort. I'm on the other side. I'm in the mountain town where Barrett lives, where everyone hates him. But I have to do a little backtracking because I think I missed an area. I think there's I have to find the Tonberry King, which means I have to figure out how to get into that little basin between the two lakes because I can't swim there for some reason. And my chocobo, even though the whole reason we got chocobos was because they could swim fast, can't swim in the water, which is what I would call ludonarrative dissonance.
Hi, my name is Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And because we're legitimately complaining about the efficacy of chocobos, you're probably listening to the television series-based podcast that is the Big Bang Theory podcast based on the Big Bang Theory television show, which isn't good, and we watch it anyway because we love each other and don't like you very much. Kyle, there's been a lot of complaints about the minigames, and when I first had to use that vacuum to clean up Mako in a Mako reactor, I was like, this is stupid and I hate it. But also the other day I was thinking, if they were to release annually just Rude Tourist on a Segway Simulator, I would be committed to the franchise. I could do that I'm so mad that you can't take the Segway out of the little resort town because I'm just a menace on it and I love it. And they're like, oh, you get this mini game if you go this far. And I'm like, change the number to infinity and I will go there and back. This is all I want to do now. I thought riding on a chocobo is good. I've never been on a Segway. I've never even pondered what it's like. And now that I've been on one, it's incredible, especially if you have no regard for people's boundaries. So
yes, it is one of the, because it's not it has mechanics for driving through a crowd, but it's not like Grand Theft Auto, so you simultaneously get to run shit over and no one ever gets upset about it or shouts.
You're just destroying chairs and tables and people around you act as if they just got the slightest tap on the shoulder, which is how I want people to react around me when I am raging out. So this was a fantasy I didn't realize I had. Now that it's been fulfilled, my standard of living has just increased substantially. Boy, I don't want to talk about the episode today. But we probably should, I guess. I don't know. You want to riff on anything? You want to banter anymore before we watch what I immediately noticed was a significantly shorter than the 22-minute prescribed episode length?
Yeah, funny thing about that, though, when they were doing the cutaway gags with Wolowitz through the room, it didn't feel shorter.
No, there was nothing about this that felt like it was moving forward with intent, which... we didn't pull up the wiki this time because we're not doing that right now. And so we watched, the 7th episode of the 10th season of the Big Bang Theory, which I would suspect is called Wolowitz Needs More on His Resume.
I feel like it was the relationship inadequacy or something like that.
Well, that sounds more accurate. And actually, thank God you said that because it reminds me of the actual plot of this episode, which isn't just doing some physical gags for Wolowitz. I don't know. This is a weird one too. And now that I think about it, the last time on clip it starts with is effectively a non sequitur.
Yes, that was the first thing I noticed. Is they start out with a previously on the Big Bang Theory, as if anything that happens in the previous episode is important, but it's literally just a clip that takes 30 seconds.
Bernadette's there's no more milk on my boobs. Being a parent is hard. And then that doesn't even really wrap back up at all, except to remind you, okay, I guess this is the B or C plot. It's to remind you that the Wolowitz household does indeed have a baby now.
Yes.
And I guess they couldn't pay the baby that much to be on screen. I think it's in that intro and then not in the rest of the episode. And that whole plot is there's a creak in the floor in the baby's room. And so... Wallace and Raj figure out what is effectively a battleship way of resolving the issue, is they make a grid on the floor and stand in every grid to see if it squeaks so they can make a map. I've explained too much, because then at the end of it, Bernadette walks in and she's like, this is what I'm supposed to do? I hate you. And then walks off, with divorcious intent.
You're leaving out the part, which was the weirdest part, which is like...
Please describe.
It's just, it's probably, we noticed this because we have watched too many episodes of this show, and it has given us a weird, like, people who have been abused, we have hypersensitivity to anything the show does that is different or strange.
It's also the only way I can get horny, but that's, neither here nor there.
But in this episode, they, for, like, the first time that I can remember, they do, like, cutaway gags, like not even like hey, remember that time when cutaway gags.
Wouldn't it be wacky if?
Yeah, and then they just show you the thing, and again, it's not like there's any rule that they have to like keep to, but I feel like if there was a series Bible somewhere, it would say whether or not you're allowed to do this, because. Yeah. Again, and it really just feels like them placing for time, because they're like, here's another way we could get across the room without stepping on the floor.
Popular show, Kyle. They're breaking all the rules. America wasn't ready for this. Here we are 10 years past when this was initially released. We weren't ready for it, Kyle. Like, this is effective television. We're talking about it. We have feelings about it.
Oh, I do remember what I was going to say, though. Not about this episode, but just about the idea of the baby in general, which is they made a joke somewhere a couple episodes about like the baby being the reincarnation of Wolowitz's dead mom. I mean, not like in a serious, but just like in her voice sounds similar, and she sort of now fills the same function on the show, being like a loud presence outside of the room. It would be kind of funny if they just kept that going through the entire rest of the show, meaning you never, having seen her in the very first scene where she was born, you now never see that baby again for the rest of the show. You only ever hear it screaming, and even when she gets old, like I know there's only 2 seasons left, but like
she stays off screen.
Yeah, if they had like a 4-year-old like screaming, or like a teenager,
like a teen, just yeah,
I hate you.
And that's something they could have had in the young Sheldon. That could be like a guest cameo that shows up. Is cousin Hermione or whatever dumb. I guess what do they actually have named her? Harriet Hart.
Harriet sounds right.
Harold.
It's a girl, I thought.
Yes. That's true. What's your problem with Harold as a girl's name? Explain yourself.
Well, Harold is the name of, the Saxon lords who upheld the boundaries of
and you're gonna
England
maintain
against
the same
those Norman
gender
fiends.
Applications that they did. You fucking jerk. All right, the baby's name is Harold. A girl, Harold. And I don't know. I just keep thinking about putting the baby in the slingshot device. That's
another thing they did, and this one they have done before, but still annoyed me, which is they're like, we could put him in a slingshot. Would that be why? Would that be funny? And then they show it, and Raj is like, yeah, that is funny. It's like, you're not allowed to tell me that the joke you just made me watch is funny. That's not, you can't do that.
Especially when Raj doesn't look amused by it. He's like a very, it's like a New Yorker cartoon funny where he's like, I understand why that comic premise was applied here. Not great. But yeah, there are those gags. That's it. And then our A plot, the stinker. It's just that we open, after the initial nonsense scene with, I don't know, Penny coming home to Leonard, who has prepared a nice date for her, and he's got some flowers out and there's wine, and it's all very nice, but something was off, because why would anything nice that in reality ever happen? And then it cuts to a reality where Penny was like momentarily nodding off as Leonard is on the couch in his undies playing video games and burping, and this begins the plot of Penny being generally dissatisfied as what she perceives as Leonard giving up on the relationship. Very classic complaint. And that turns into they were going to have a spa day together, and instead Penny decides to go with Amy. And in totally cool, not in any way unstable boyfriend style, Leonard decides, well, I'm going to go to the spa too, because even though she says she wants time away from me, I need to be there to make sure she knows I care about her and from following her requests in the opposite way that she has expressed. But then it kind of turns out fine anyway, because Sheldon comes along, so Sheldon and Amy are now having just a delightful time at the spa, which they didn't use enough spa stuff. Not because I wanted to see, just sweaty nerds and all of their bits poking out of white robes, but because I knew they were too cheap and I wanted to be angry. I knew they would not dare spend money on a spa set. And because Sheldon's there and they have him as a reference, Leonard and Penny are like, hey, draw us up a relationship agreement. And they do it, and that resolves it. I don't know. Maybe that itself could have been an episode, was going through and exercising the relationship agreement.
Well, no, I feel like that's... So there are two things about this episode I think that made it particularly hard to watch. The first is the juxtaposition. It was the existence of the C plot and the A-B plot in the same episode. Because it feels like Penny and Leonard having pretty realistic relationship issues is already a weird thing for the show to introduce, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
It gets really weird and uncomfortable whenever the show decides it's suddenly going to play anything straight, and this is definitely in that vein.
And this is going to be a one-off too, right? It's like, this is the Penny actually gets mad episode.
Yeah.
There was nothing leading up to it. Nothing will follow this.
Yes. So that just out of the blue, Penny is thinking about the fact that, Leonard is kind of become a lazy husband. And that all feels dark, and even his reaction to it, instead of responding in a big, broad, archly comic way, he just sort of sulks and walks away, which is again, not a completely, so played entirely straight, and then juxtaposed with the C plot, which is, Wolowitz playing Minesweeper in his bedroom with the creaky floorboards. Which I get that they needed the time, but I felt like if you already had enough contrast and energy between what's going on with Penny and Leonard and what's going on with Sheldon and Amy, that there was no need to cut to a third thing, except that you wanted to remind people that they were also in the episode.
I think somewhere in the studio, very nearby, there was some sort of physical challenge game being set up. And they just had some fun devices left over. They were like, we don't have to pay twice for these. Just, move them over to the next lot. They'll figure out how to use them. Yeah. They strap Wolowitz into a few. Because, it's the nature of the gag is weird. And, it's where he's doing, cartoon, silly stuff. And then Sheldon is trying his best to be comic relief while Leonard is like, no, I'm not participating in this game. If this were an improv scene, I'd be shitting all over you right now. But because we're trying to have a moment of feeling, I don't know. It just sucks.
Yeah, and then of course, instead of actually, I don't even know if courage is the right word, consistency to show us a meaningful resolution, they cut away from the actual Penny Leonard deep conversation, because they probably couldn't figure out how to write that in
not a moment of it on screen.
So they just come back and they're like, we talked it through, it's probably going to be fine, but now we're back to the hijinks and we need you to draft us a relationship agreement. So we were just ejected out of the world and tone of the Big Bang Theory for a solid 10 minutes and then just randomly brought back into it at the end of the episode. And I think that whiplash was also really annoying.
Well, this makes me think now of a lost opportunity, where it's a season where Wolowitz spends most of it legitimately grieving for his mom. And so everyone's like, oh, look, I can't remember. That must have happened after he already got married to Bernadette. But, if they're like, oh, Wolowitz, he's not like himself anymore. Here's what we should do. We should put some, I don't know, vulnerable young women on his normal walking path and see if any of his old instincts kick in to harass him. He used to love that before the incident, stuff like that. Oh, hey, we did an agreement with the HR rep is going to call him in random intervals that are happening no less than 3 times a month to see if we can't get some of the spark back as he responds to complaints he doesn't know the basis of because he's committed too many offenses.
I've talked about this before. Not often, but there's it was my recommendation a couple weeks ago. There's a show I really like now called You're the Worst.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Yes,
You've made it.
And in the fourth season finale, one of the characters, it's basically like your basic season finale fake out where it looks like one thing's going to happen and then one of the characters just does something pretty unforgivable, and that's just where the season ends, and you're like, how are they going to get out of that one? But then what I appreciated is the entire next season of the show was about that. Instead of like resolving it in like the first, I feel like if that happened in the Big Bang Theory, they, like you were saying, they'd resolve it within like either by the end of the episode or within like the first 15 minutes of the following episode. But this time they were like, no, that was a pretty fucked up thing. We're going to spend a lot of time dealing with the emotional fallout of this thing that happened and trying to figure out if there's any way that these characters can ever get over what just happened. And it's still funny. Like it's like they still managed to like be delightfully funny about it. But part of the funniness is watching these people be like, we used to have one relationship and now our relationship is defined by this other thing. And that's we live there now.
We need an episode, and I'm sure it's coming. This isn't too much to ask, where the gang first learn how their like three-dimensional theoretical targeting system was used to like murder a bunch of people in the Middle East, and they have to spend a few episodes just kind of dealing with the ethical quandaries of their passions. Because I don't know, Dean Norris is never coming back either. That's another thing that just went away that would be interesting that they just abandoned.
I don't know that one. I think mainly because I peeked at the episode summaries for the next couple. I didn't see his name, but I did see that they're going back and doing more of the like DARPA stuff. So there's always a chance he'll be back.
They're gonna have some Oppenheimer moments. I'm sure of it. I'm excited now.
Do you ever? I don't do it a lot, but every now and then I think about episodes or things that the Big Bang Theory would have to cover if it were still around. And I guess we should both thank every like god, pagan or otherwise, that the two of us have, that this show ended before AI became a thing.
Oh, Kyle. Because what you just asked, what would it have to cover for around? No, I've never thought that for a second, Kyle, and I'm mad that you do. I leave this where it belongs, okay? I try to not ever ponder.
Can you just imagine, like, Sheldon plugging ChatGPT for an entire 30-minute episode?
Oh, I thought I was smart, but hearing my own thoughts repeated back to me shows me that I needed the help all along. Ugh. I literally never knew how to raise a baby without ChatGPT. Now it's malnourished and climbs out the window all the time. Yeah, I'm glad we don't have that. God damn it. God, I thought I was already in a sour mood, We were having a good time palling around, trying to distract from the pain, then you gotta bring that nonsense into this headspace.
I'm sorry, that was cruel of me.
Raj is a part of the crew. He doesn't do much.
Again, for like 5 seconds. I don't know what's going on with that guy. I mean, I guess maybe it's a good deal for him because he's like, you want me to show up, stand around, and be sassy for like max 2 minutes per episode, and I still get like the full like season regular paycheck that my WGA contract mandates. Or I'm sorry, that's SAG contract mandates. Hell yeah.
Maybe he made somebody mad. He's just underutilized, or not. Maybe America wasn't ready for him, but he's, I feel like I'm giving him too much credit just on his lack of appearances. Maybe I haven't had the opportunity to grow sick of him, but this show could have more fun with Raj. Maybe no one was willing to believe that he could have dated two babes at once, and they've just left him in the dust ever since.
Yeah, that was the last time his character was interesting, wasn't it? I think it's just they like can't think of, like, it just feels like they're like, it's easier for the writers to imagine plots. And to be fair, that's because they're more traditional sitcom. Like, we're basically now the show revolves around two couples in long-term, or three couples in long-term relationships. Yeah. So it's basically now they get to drag out every tired, like, sitcom trope that's been invented since I Love Lucy and put their own shitty, lazy spin on it. And Raj just is outside of that paradigm. So it's more work to fit him into things.
We've got to move on from this. This is just killing my soul.
Is there anything else?
No, okay. There's nothing else.
How about this? What if this were the type of show that when it got tired of characters, it killed them? How do you think how do you think the Big Bang Theory would kill Raj? I think
that's what's happening already. That's what happened to all those women, Kyle.
No, they just disappeared. and you never saw them again. I mean,
oh yeah, no, and I'm sure they're alive and well. They're having happy, just careers, with different colored hair and different names, thanks to government intervention. That's the best case scenario for any of them once they've been on Wolowitz's list. He put that into a sex robot, and like that's the reason he had the girls around, was trying to train that thing. He's like, I'll never need a woman again. He's just got this weird thing in his closet that like knows a little bit about 6 or 7 ladies he kind of dated, and it's not enough information, so they're all like, I think I should leave. Yeah, I'm done with this.
Okay.
Do you have anything that you enjoy?
Yeah, let's flip over. Let's talk about.
Yeah. Do you still have enough feelings to have pleasure and interest in materials and in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I can tell you. So this is the part of the show where we transition to talking about things we actually like. Just to be clear,
that's what we normally do. Let's see if we can do it this time.
So I'm going to get you. I think this will excite. This isn't something that I actually have access to yet. This is just something I'm excited about. Does that still meet the criteria?
Well, I mean, we'll see. If you fuck it up, I'll let you know after the fact, and then I'll act like the rule was there the whole time, and I'll be so mad.
I'm excited because one of my favorite Dungeons and Dragons, I don't even know what you call it, like subsystems. Like as I have explained at nauseating length in a supplementary podcast of ours, which Nick will plug at some point. There are actually a bunch of different editions of Dungeons and Dragons, and there are a bunch of some of the older editions are kind of making a comeback, including this the version that was called Basic/Expert when it first came out, which was technically not any of the numbered editions. They released a new version of it called Old School Essentials by a third-party publisher who basically had like copied all of the rules. So that in itself is a great game, which has like a very like cool old school vibe and a lot of adventures written for it. But recently they announced their biggest expansion that they've done so far, which is the Demonic Grimoire, which is they're like, this edition of Dungeons & Dragons is pretty cool, but you know what it's missing? All of the satanic stuff that people freaked out about in the late 90s. It's like, it's time to put that all back in the game. So they've been crowdfunding for the last month for like, their new line of like more Diablo-esque based Dungeons & Dragons supplements that will be coming out over the course of the next year or so. And I funded like 7 of them because I'm super excited.
Nice. There's no reason for me to expect so, and I'll probably interact with it very little, but I hope they go into a whole funky, like, 70s death metal thing, too, while they're at it. Bring in the actual satanic references stuff, but I want it to be also coming out of an old van that when you open the wizard mural door, a bunch of pot smoke comes pouring out because they're all playing D&D inside of it.
I think that's definitely the vibe they're going for. Like, there are a lot of old... Demon Princes is the name. So in first edition Dungeons and Dragons, they came up with all of like basically like an entire demonic cosmology of like big bad evil demon dudes. Guys like Orcus, who's like Lord of Undeath and stuff like that. And all of those are like owned by Wizards of the Coast now, so they can't use them. But now they're basically creating their own demon princes who are with similar vibes, but with the slightly different motif. So now you've got like, the demon lord who's just all slimy and greasy. And so like, and he like is the god of like all the slime monsters that you run into in dungeons and things like that. And the ooze and the jellies and things. He's just dripping all over the place.
He's the Blob. Except not the X-Men character, the Blob. Just the Blob, the Blob.
Yes. All right. So that's something I'm excited about.
Well, and with the name of the collection, with just demonic, or
it's Old School Essentials. I think it's called just Demonic, either Demonic Handbook or Demonic Grimoire.
Nice. All right. Sounds like a good recommendation to me. And then if it sucks, we come back and people are allowed to hit us for having not correctly prognosticated.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like as I was looking at it, I was like, this might, like, I know he's got other things to do, and he's not like that big of a D&D fan, but this seems like if Nick were ever going to jump on the D&D bandwagon, this is the spot at the moment when you can play as like the weird cultist dude who is out like trying to like summon Satan.
Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me they think I'd make a good cult leader, which is frustrating because they haven't done anything to indicate their interest in membership. And if this is what really gets me over that hump, I'm all in, yeah. Except I'll spend most of my time trying to unsuccessfully convert my own party members to the detriment of actually doing anything in battle, so we'll see how that goes. That'll be good. Just telling you, that's how it's going to go down.
All right.
Yeah, also, Kyle mentioned our supplemental content, which you could find at podcast.com, patreon.com/TBBTT, which is the acronym for The Big Bang Theory. Patreon.com/TBBTT. And I've got one that I very, very much recommend, but I want to be kind of brief about it because I just don't want to spoil too much of it. Not that it can be spoiled. It's a 60-year-old movie. I finally watched the Battle for Algiers, which was part of a revolutionary cinema thing at my local indie theater that I didn't make it to because I was sick or something. But I was recently trapped in a hotel for several weeks and watched a lot of movies and got to all the fancy artsy-fartsy types that I usually only save for the nights when I have the most attention span. Speaking of, this is one I had to watch in 4 parts. Not because it was dreary or slow, but because every scene of it is so essential and just directly feeds into the next that I didn't want to miss any part of it. There isn't any fat on it. And the basic premise is that it takes place, I think it starts in the mid-50s, at least late 50s at the earliest, and it takes place in French-occupied Algeria. And a group of the local Algerians, fed up with French occupation, start forming a liberation network. And Liberation Network is, of course, the nice name for it. But something that really struck me about this movie is on both the side of the locals and the French, they talk about the limits and effectiveness of different kinds of terrorism. And that's something that I don't think any modern movie would go within 1,000 miles of. And, they're not trying to make like a really obvious like political statement or like endorsement in either direction, but just that they talk about it frankly at all. And that, I guess another thing I'll say I really appreciate is that, because it is very much based on real events, when the military comes in for like to do the real business to try to get rid of this liberation movement, they're not presented as cartoonishly evil. Like, they're evil for sure, but only in the sense that, like, colonizers trying to suppress a local populace are evil. They're not, rubbing their hands and making like some sort of evil deals with a literal devil or anything. They're like, no, we want this, and they should love us because we're French, and so we're going to do really, really rotten things without any sort of self-awareness. I mean, it's great. And to pimp a service, because I don't know, they must have got some sort of new dump of Criterion movies all at once. But HBO, it's on there for free, as well as a few other things I saw. I guess they got a bunch of foreign noir movies that are fun too. So I'm just recommending HBO Max, I guess. Movies in general. Also Dungeons and Dragons. Just, I don't know, anything but what we watched today.
Yes. Anything old, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess I worry about this all the time, but it's like the older we get, the more we retreat into the past. Not the weird conservative part of the past. Well, maybe Nick, but
yeah, I have a lot of problems with that I didn't used to have with women of all types, and I get into it, but I have a separate podcast for that.
But yes, I am just like, it's just like innovations seem to be bad now.
Yeah, well, that's like, we're both playing Final Fantasy VII, and it's like, wow, it's great that they made this thing that used to be good better, because everything that's happening now fucking sucks.
Yeah, I guess that's a good, it's like, that is, that's maybe a slightly more, because I mean, it is, in the one sense, it's like nostalgia bait, but in the other sense, nowhere in the original Final Fantasy VII could you play a cool kick-ass card game against like a talking dog or other like random people around the world.
Yeah, I don't want to have to go to a comic book shop with poor ventilation and play Pokemon cards with a bunch of Utes. I like want to wander around with like a Queen's Blood deck in my back pocket and just like wait around for who looks like the most obviously insane person in the square block. And
to like aura cast at you like one of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters.
Absolutely. And our strong personalities clash, but in a way that is a sense complementary because we end up respecting each other by the end of it, god damn it. Yeah, Queen's Blood. We're making it real. That's what this is about. Patreon.com/TBBTT to crowdfund Queen's Blood. We own that now.
Oh, if Square Enix has any... surely the game has been out for a couple of years now. I'm surprised they haven't already come out with that spin-off.
They probably have, and it wasn't cost-effective enough, which is why you have to pay us to do it. It's gonna be great.